Now, in Ableton Live, we can use return channels that feed back onto themselves. So you right click, you go insert return track, call this NIMB 1, no input mixing board 1. Now, the moment you send this back to itself, there's a risk of this thing pinning itself to the absolute maximum volume here. And that's freaking loud, especially in digital. It's about as loud as your computer can go. On the master, you're going to have a limiter just to make sure that it doesn't go much above 0 decibels. I repeat, this can cause ear damage if you are not careful, so be careful. Here, let's put this way down while we set this thing in motion. To set this thing in motion, we right click, we do enable sends, and we feed it back onto itself. Because it's a perfectly digital system, there's perfect digital silence, so there's nothing for it to feed back onto itself just yet. So how do we create a little bit of sound on here? For example, we could put a tiny bit of vinyl distortion on there. See that? We've created a monster. But we can't hear it because we have full control. But what you wouldn't want is this 40 decibels louder smacking you in the ear. Not good. We can start experimenting with seeing what kind of things we can put in the feedback chain to sculpt this sound, and after that we can create a second return channel to increase the complexity of this system, right? Look at this beauty. Now, let's put a little EQ on there, reduce some of these ultra highs. I find that feedback systems are very sensitive to how much high mids or lows you send there. Sometimes when one of them gets overwhelming, you can just push it down, and then the center of gravity of this feedback system will move towards the lows, for example, which I find more interesting. Because look, if you bring up the highs, boom, catastrophically, it goes all the way up to the highs. Beauty. A little bit of LFO. Whoa. One of the biggest joys is having very few elements in the signal chain and explore them deeply. You could stack loads of different things, that's fine, but there's a sort of a paralyzing abundance of options here in the digital world. It costs no energy. So it's more fun to have less elements and to explore them deeply. See what's happening? For me, just moving an EQ around